What's up, it's Jan back at it again with another nerdy bookish video. This is gonna be my May 2025 wrap up. Hello everyone, if you're new here, I do all my wrap-ups in the reread, rewrite, burn tag method, where I pull 3 titles at a time from this handy dandy skull, and I say whether I would hypothetically reread, rewrite, or burn the book. So it's essentially fuck, marry, kill, but make it bookish. That's the lowdown. This is my May wrap-up. I read 21 books. Ooh, that'll make for 7 even rounds of reread, rewrite, burn. Nice, sick, awesome, cool. So yeah, this is just a fun way that I do my wrap-ups. I've been doing it for like 4 years now, and let's just go right into the recap portion. It was a pretty slow reading month. I feel like this whole year has been kind of slow. I've been getting a lot more 5-star ratings than what I've been seeing on booktube. I feel like people are getting stingy with their 5 stars, or at least, I don't know, more intentional, I guess. I try not to overthink it. So it's not quality wise, I think it's just more quantity wise, that I'm not, like last year by this time in June, or like mid-June, I was already at 152 books, which was my reading goal for the year. That's why I remember that number. But this year I'm at 106, which, you know, isn't bad by any means either, but it's just lower than last year. So something's up. But anyway, crazy month, okay? I went from having mouth surgery in the beginning of the month to getting engaged at the end of the month. So it was a roller coaster of feelings, emotions, life stuff, but we got through it. I also started taking coloring more seriously. So in the near future, we're gonna have a lot more audiobooks probably. I've fallen off my audiobook kick for a few months now, but I think we're gonna get back into it, especially after reading Vera Wong's Guide to Snooping on a Dead Man. That audiobook was so good. And oh yeah, don't mind my nails. I'm missing a couple. Don't look too closely. But I did start another Instagram account for my coloring stuff just to hold myself accountable and to just, I don't know, see how much I've improved over the years. And it's just called Jan Tries to Color. I'll have it linked down below. But anyway, back to the reading. 21 books, 5,528 pages. My best book of the month was Uncanny by Junji Ito. This is Uncanny: The Origins of Fear. This is Junji Ito's memoir. If you didn't know who Junji Ito, have you been around this channel for a while? I don't know. Probably not, because I talk about him all the time. He is my favorite horror manga artist. I have a little collection up there. You can't really see it, but it's growing. There it is, right above my head, right above that blue spot on the shelves. I adore Junji Ito, and I've always wanted to get insight into his brain because it's just fascinating to me how he can come up with such wild, just out of this world things. So this did exactly what I was hoping his memoir would do for me. It was a good balance between personal anecdotes to like manga techniques and inspiration and things like that. So I read this for my Patreon readathon last month. So in the vlog I also said this, so sorry if you're hearing it again, but do not read this book if you haven't read every single Junji Ito book written through Viz Media. They're all listed in the beginning here, or in the end. He spoils most, if not all of them. So here's the long list of Junji Ito whatever. But yeah, it's all blue inside, so it was entertaining to the eye. There are examples of his art. There are all these notes that are translated into English because he wrote them obviously in Japanese. This fine print is all of that translated into English. And so it really was like a deep dive into his mind and how a lot of these stories came about and what inspired it, whether it was childhood trauma, certain family members or people he met along the way, fears that he had, where he just basically exposed himself by making this extreme, intense story about said fear. Like, he's afraid of sharks and he made this scary shark story. This was my 3rd nonfiction book of the year. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that it turned out being my best book of the month, but obviously gave this 5 stars. My worst book, I do have a physical copy, which means it's going to be on my Pango, which is always linked down below. I just like to fill my wrap up first before I start listing more books on there. But my worst book of May was Famous Last Words by Gillian McAllister. I've decided I'm officially done with this author. I'll link the live show down below with Jesse and Jordan. We talked about it for Jesse's Sleep When I'm Dead book club. I read this during my my Mackinac Island trip with my parents and Joey, and it's in a Carmilla patron vlog because that was also my proposal weekend vlog. So all my vlog in-depth thoughts are in that video, but essentially we have this woman who wakes up to a cryptic note from her husband. She didn't know what it means. She was just like, why aren't you answering your phone? Why did you leave the house so early? Where are you? I'm out of maternity leave. I'm going back to work. This is weird. Come to find out, he committed a crime, and the story takes off from there. I gave this 2 stars. The thing about this is the pacing was weird. There was something about the storyline. There were some unnecessary parts. I feel like it could have been a novella. I really just gave the 2nd star for the reveal. I thought it was cleverly done. I thought the beginning of this book was strong, but the middle part was just really slow, and it just felt like we were making no progress a lot of the time, and there was an unnecessary romance. There were these perspectives that I felt like didn't really add anything to the story. Like, it could have done fine without them. Also, I read Wrong Place, Wrong Time and gave that a low 3 stars, I believe, so I think I'm just done with this author. I know a lot of people didn't really like Just Another Missing Person by this author either, so that's that. This will be on my Pango. The arc that I read, I actually have a physical copy. I try to read at least 1 arc every month, whether it's a physical arc or just to up my NetGalley score, whether it's already released or not. I received Blood in the Water by Tiffany D. Jackson on Independent Bookstore Day when I went to an indie bookstore. If you spent some amount of money, you get a free arc or whatever. So they gave me this and I was so happy because it was an author I'm familiar with. I've read almost all her books except Allegedly, which I still have to get to, even though I know it involves pregnancy, I think. Let Me Hear a Rhyme was good. I feel like that one's her most underrated and least talked about. I really like that one. I've read Grown, The Weight of Blood, which was my favorite by her, White Smoke, Monday's Not Coming I read. I'm trying to think if there are any others. Anyway, this is her debut middle grade book. Honestly, it surprised me more than a lot of adult thrillers I've been reading lately. I gave this 5 stars. It comes out July 1st. It was really well done. This girl, she's from Brooklyn and she gets sent to live with some family friends for the summer at Martha's Vineyard. I didn't know a lot of the history that goes with Martha's Vineyard, so read the author's note if you want to learn more about that. And it also has some of the history interweaved throughout the book as well. There's this girl who doesn't really like her that's staying there too, and then there's a murder and people think it's because of sharks in the water, but she doesn't believe it, and there's some creepy shit going on at Martha's Vineyard. It was really good. It was really well written. I expected nothing less of Tiffany D. Jackson. And my coffin covers challenge is my monthly reading challenge over on Patreon, where we just read something on the cover every month. And this month we were looking for hands on the cover, I think, which is pretty easy because it doesn't have to be like a severed hand. It could just be like a person on the cover and an attached hand. I'm just gonna fly through them and talk about them more when I pull them from the jar. There's a hand on Welcome to the Hunamdung Bookshop on this lady walking her dog. There's a hand on Strange Pictures right there. This manga DRCL volume 4, the hand. This is the one that I guess counted for the prompt because it's the most prominent one. This person doesn't even have a face, but they have a hand. Abby Jimenez, there's a hand on there, right? Oh no, oh yeah, I was like, it's in her pocket. And then Vera Wong's Guide to Snooping Dead Man, there's a hand there. And then Great Big Beautiful Life, her little hands reading a book, and his hands down there as well. And then for my book box books, I try to read at least one to like whittle those down because it's getting out of hand. Famous Last Words was from Book of the Month. I also read Immaculate Conception by Ling Ling Huang. This is an Aardvark Book Club box book, and if you didn't know, I am a rep for them, so if you use my code JAN at checkout, you can get your first Aardvark Book Club box for $4 and free shipping. They have such good diverse titles, such good quality books. The hints on social media are great. They're so fun. I love working with them. Immaculate Conception, I gave 4 stars. This could have been a 5 if it was doing a little bit less. Like, I feel like it was doing too much for how short it is and how it was executed, but I think the writing was great. I loved Natural Beauty by this author. I loved the ending of this book. I loved the art discussions. I love a lot of, I keep saying I love, but books that discuss art in like a sophisticated manner. Love that shit. Then there's also like a touch of AI in this as well, but I think the mystery aspect of it all was one of my favorite parts. And then that ending was just so well done, I feel like. It also talks about being a woman of color in the society and in the art world. I say go into it as blindly as possible. If any of that sounds interesting to you, if any of those are buzzwords for you, try it out. It's a fun time. And then for my 2025 TBR, I have Uncanny for my 25 for 2025, as well as King of Envy by Anna Huang, which was quite disappointing for me. I gave this a 3-star. This was only my second 3-star from all the Anna Huang books I read. This is the 5th book in the Kings of Sin series. I love this series with my entire soul. All the other books have been 5 stars for me, like strong, solid 5 stars. This is about Ayana and Vuk. I don't want to talk about it too much because I do have, I think, like 2 vlogs talking about this book. It definitely suffers from being a little bit too long. There's a lot of mafia stuff that was just trying to like drag it out, and the romance wasn't the best. I did really appreciate learning about situational mutism, because that's what Vuk has, because he has trauma in his past and it caused him to not want to speak in most situations. So he's a man of few words, so when he does speak, it's very meaningful and intentional, and that's what made it a sweet romance. It's a fake marriage situation on Ayana's end, and then the King of Envy is Vuk. He's jealous of the guy that she is supposed to marry, but no one else knows that it's an arranged fake marriage except Ayana and the guy she was supposed to marry. But anyway, it's a good one. It's just not Anna Huang's best in my humble opinion. Okay, so that's everything with a recap. Let's dive in. Ow, there's a sharp part in this and I poke myself every month when I do this. Let's pick the first 3, shall we? We've got Vera Wong's Guide to Snooping on a Dead Man, PTSD Radio Volume 1 and 2. I feel like this is my biggest physical pile for a wrap-up that I've had in a while. And then Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green. Okay, well shit. We've got a 5-star, a 4-star, and a 4-star. Shit. Okay. I would... Ooh, that's so sad. Okay, so despite this being something I would want to reread, in this scenario, I think I'm gonna burn it because compared to these two, it's a manga. It's a horror manga. It was so creepy. Thank you to Destiny for sending me this as a gift. I'm so glad I finally got to read this because this has been recommended to me every time. I'm like, I need more horror manga recs, but I could never find this at my library or any library surrounding me. I can't even explain this. I just know it was freaking creepy that I was like laughing at times because I was like, oh my god, if I were reading this in the dark, I'd be so creeped out. I'd have to reread it completely because there was a lot going on, but it was really just the imagery that freaked me the fuck out. Ooh, yeah. So let's just burn this. I would reread Everything is Tuberculosis. I said this in my vlog that I would reread it. When did I read this? I think I just uploaded the vlog where I read this. So I have a lot of direct quotes and thoughts in that vlog. So I'm just gonna say I would reread it because I mostly listened to the audiobook and followed along and I didn't annotate. So I would love to reread this and annotate. I mean, it's a short book. It's written by John Green. His writing's great. His voice is great. But it literally just talks about the history of tuberculosis and how it relates to our everyday lives and the fact that it's like kind of a domino effect, because if we have a lack of resources, then we won't be able to treat certain diseases, and really everything is the human race's fault, essentially, is what it's saying. And then I would rewrite Vera Wong's Guide to Snooping on a Dead Man. The first book was 5 stars for me. This one was a 4 because it involved social media and being online and stuff. And although it was funny to see Vera Wong try to navigate Instagram and TikTok and whatever else and speak with all the lingo that kids use nowadays, I still don't like reading about it. I mean, I feel like this is best case scenario when it comes to reading about social media and stuff. I just don't like reading about it because I live it every single day, not just in my personal life with YouTube and everything, but also my day job is social media for a library, if you didn't know. So it's just a lot for me to also read it in my leisure books. This is a cozy murder mystery and it got dark really quickly at the end. So check warnings if you're nervous about that, but it's definitely darker than the first one. And this one's a lot more plot driven than character driven like the first one was. So that's another reason why it was just a 4 and not a 5. But I would rewrite that in terms of, did I say why? I think I did. To just change the social media aspect and have it surround something else. This was too modern for me. I didn't like that part of it because, like I said, an elderly protagonist trying to, you know, adapt to the modern world, the present day world. I do like that, I guess, micro trope, especially Vera Wong, because she's so relatable. Like, she feels like my grandma sometimes. She's Chinese, and I'm not, but the Asian culture as a whole. Like, she embodies a lot of it. But yeah, just change the social media part. I don't know to what, because that's kind of what the whole plot revolves around, but whatever. That's not part of the game. All right, next 3. Blood in the Water by Tiffany D. Jackson. Strange Pictures by Uketsu. The Blanks by Grady Hendrix. I would burn The Blanks. I gave that one 3 stars. I read that during my Mackinac trip as well. I said in my vlog, which was Patreon only, that this is for fans of the Blair Witch Project because of the terror aspect and the things like you don't see. I'm not gonna say too much because it's like a 39-page story. It's one of those Amazon original stories or whatever, but it's Grady Hendrix, so of course I'd read it. But it takes place on this McMansion on this island where people have to take a ferry to go to, which was wild to me because I knew nothing about this book. I just know a couple of my friends really enjoyed it, so I picked it up, and I was going to Mackinac Island, which is an island that I needed a ferry to get to. That was wild. I want to say that the island in The Blanks also didn't have cars, and that's how Mackinac is too. So that was like life imitates art to a T. Scarily. Gave that one 3 stars. I would reread Strange Pictures. I gave this 4 stars. I thought this was fascinating. I cannot wait for Strange Houses. I believe it comes out this month. This is 4 long chapters. It's more of a mystery than a horror, but there are some horror elements in this. Like there's some animal abuse, there's the creepy pictures. It's a fun read. I love how everything came together at the end. But yeah, I would reread this for sure. Blood in the Water, honestly, kind of a cop-out answer, but I would rewrite this and just make it an adult thriller because I feel like it was pretty mature in general, but if this were an adult thriller, I think she could have done it. I think she could have done it really well, and it would have had like darker themes, and I don't know, maybe more people would die. There would be more gore possibly, but I love that. Again, 5 stars. That's why I love this game. Like the ratings almost rarely ever match whether I would reread, rewrite, or burn them. Famous Last Words by Jillian McAllister. Cruel Nature by DB Albiza, and hashtag DRCL Midnight Children Volume 4. I know I keep starting with burn and it's not burn, reread, rewrite, but I'm burning Famous Last Words. I would reread DRCL. I love this. This is the 4th volume, like I said. Thank you to Destiny for gifting me this as well. And then my other patron, Astilby, gifted me the first 3, so that in and of itself puts this series in a special place in my heart. But this is a Dracula retelling, if you couldn't tell. I gave this 3 stars. This was probably my least favorite of the series, but I would still reread it because it would complete the story. There are more volumes than this. I don't think they're out in English yet, but yeah, the art style is insane in these books. It was just in this one, there was something that made me uncomfortable that involved a child, and I just don't like how that character is depicted in this story. So yeah, that's that. But I would reread that, and then I would rewrite Cruel Nature. There were just a couple stories, and this is a middle grade horror story collection, and as with any other story collection, there are some stories that hit and some stories that were misses, and I would just say that I would rewrite the ones that were misses for me. But I gave Cruel Nature 4 stars. This was actually a lot creepier than I expected, especially for a middle grade. I did tab a lot, but honestly, I think I'm going to, so the author sent this to me, but I think I want to put it on my Pango just so I could pass it on, because I kind of doubt that these would be in any big chain stores, so I'd want to pass it along and expose it that way, because I have promoted it multiple times now, and I don't think I would reread this because I'm not a huge like short story collection person in the first place, but I mean, it was good. 4 stars. Next up, we have The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa, Immaculate Conception by Ling Ling Huang. Oh my gosh. And then Powerless by Elsie Silver. Wow, these are very different books. Okay, so I gave Powerless 5 stars. I'm gonna have to reread this one. This was my favorite of the series so far. This is the 3rd book in the Chestnut Spring series. It's childhood friends to lovers. It was so well done. I was squealing, kicking my feet, giggling, all the things. And there was an impromptu road trip. It was just so good. I flew through it when I actually sat down and only read this book, because I kept hopping books, and I started it with Katie from Katie Colson on a live show, and then I just put it down, but then I couldn't stop once I picked it up again. And it's huge, but it's so quick, and I love this so much. I love this series, but yeah, this is my favorite so far. Okay, I think I would rewrite Immaculate Conception because I don't think I would want to burn this one. I would honestly reread this. I'm keeping this on my shelves. I would rewrite it to do a little bit less, you know, or make it longer. This is one of the few books that I wish were longer. I'm usually like, could have been shorter, but no, I think this could have been longer. I think things could have been explored more, fleshed out more, but that ending, needs to stay because that was a good abrupt but not abrupt ending. I loved learning more and more about our characters and their relationships with one another and their views on art and shit. Them analyzing their own art pieces and other people critiquing their art. Honestly, I didn't care much for the AI stuff in this. I understand what it was trying to provide commentary on, especially, you know, in this day and age, but I think it could have done without the AI stuff to an extent, because there is a part in this that involves a good amount of AI, but like I said, it was trying to do too much, so it's kind of a mumble jumble in my head, but would reread this, but for this scenario, rewrite. And then, okay, this was my Halara Bloody read for last month, so I have a spoiler-filled dedicated reading vlog over on Patreon, and it was fun reading this with people and discussing it in the Discord, and I gave it a 4, but it was very slow in the middle. There was a lot of dilly-dallying and things that I'm going to forget and just like didn't really care about reading. I love the ending, and I think it had a strong start as well. The ending was great. I think that was so good, like so well done, so well written. Apparently this is based on Anne Frank. If you didn't know what The Memory Police is about, this is a backlist book. It's a dystopian novel about this government that takes away memories. And it's not like personal memories, like personal experiences. It's like the word bird is just disappearing, like taken away. And then people just have to get rid of things that resemble birds, or like books at one point. So then people have to get rid of books, things like that. I don't want to give too many examples because I don't want to give too much away, obviously. It gets intense. There's a lot of hiding and secrecy in this world because government is very scary, and this world is no exception. But I would burn this because I felt myself getting bored at some points, and it took me a lot longer than I thought it would take me to finish this book. Next we have Mr. Salary by Sally Rooney, Feral by Gemma Amor, and okay, none of these I have physically. Cursed Bunny by Bora Chung. Okay, so I would reread Mr. Salary because you can analyze Sally Rooney's writing forever, but this one was really, really short. All of these were pretty short, but Mr. Salary was I think it was like 60 pages or 40 pages, and it talks about class, money, power, being a woman, being in a relationship where feelings aren't reciprocated. Unrequited love is the term I was looking for, but yeah, it explored a lot of different topics in such a short time, and I will always appreciate that about Sally Rooney. Oh, I gave Mr. Salary 4 stars. I would rewrite Feral to make it longer. I loved that book. I gave Feral 4 stars as well because I wish it were longer. It was so good. It was the perfect amount of unhinged that I love. I read it on Kindle Unlimited. It's about this girl who wants to experiment with things like going au naturel, not shaving, not bathing, things like that, and she has a boyfriend who is dealing with that. He's, you know, trying to be supportive and stuff, and then things get out of hand. This was much better than Dear Laura by Gemma Amor, which was a novella that I read in April for my Gabby Do Your Worst vlog, which I'll link down below if I remember. I would rewrite that in that aspect. And then Cursed Bunny, I gave 3 stars. I would burn that. That was another horror story collection. Really the first couple, literally the first 2 stories, The Head and don't remember what the second one was called, but it involved birth control and something very scary to me personally. Those were the only 2 that really hooked me and kept my attention the entire time. The other ones, I was just like, you lost me. But if you like weird horror with a splash of like science fiction in some stories, Cursed Bunny is the way to go. Next 3. Is this the last 3? No, we have 6 more. King of Envy by Anna Huang, Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez, and Uncanny by Junji Ito. Would reread Uncanny, so that's my best book, as we all know. I would rewrite Say You'll Remember Me. Oh, that hurts. That hurts, that hurts, that hurts. Okay, I gave Say You'll Remember Me 4 stars. It took me quite a bit to get into. I think it took me like 2 or 3 vlogs to fully like get into it. I'm currently working on the vlog that this was read in right now, so hopefully that's up before this. I'll link it down below if so. I would rewrite this. I would take out all the Resand references and all the pop culture references, maybe leave a couple in, but not as many as what it has. And then in the beginning, there was this fast moving part that was just like, huh? And a lot of people I've heard had to reread that part, and I mean same, because I was just like, did that just happen? This had a lot of familial issues and grief and a long distance relationship. These characters could not catch a break. They just kept going through one tragedy after another, and it was heartbreaking to read, but then their happy moments were such happy moments, and I liked the way it ended. He's a vet and she's like a social media person for a mustard company, but that didn't bother me too much because it was funny. Her posts were funny and it was just so random, like a mustard company, what? I love books with characters who have like quirky jobs like that. But yeah, I love that he was a vet because there were a lot of scenes with animals. There's animal abuse in this as well. That broke me, so trigger warning for that. I believe she has a note in the beginning that talks about trigger warnings. So there's that. I'm sure a lot of you have read that anyway, so let's just move on to King of Envy, which I would hate to burn, but I think in this scenario I have to. This was my least favorite of the series, which is so sad. I'm just glad I was able to buddy read this with my friend Christina from Christina's Chapters. I'll link her channel down below. It was so fun reading it with her. I probably couldn't have done it without her. It probably would have taken me a lot longer than it did if I were reading this alone, because I slogged through quite a bit of it. But yeah, we read half of it in one day, and that's with a lot of yapping. We got distracted a lot, but I don't know. I mean, I tabbed a decent amount. There were some really cute moments. If I had to choose, this would be the burn in this trio. All right, last round, people. The last three are Welcome to the Hyunamdong Bookshop by Hwang Bo-ryum, Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, and The Fair Kind by Ronald Couture. I might have said his name wrong, but I would reread Welcome to the Hyunamdong Bookshop. I gave this 4 stars, but I feel like it could have been a 5 if I were in that mindset of wanting change immediately in my life, if I felt stuck in my life. But I was pretty content in my life while I was reading this, so I feel like things didn't resonate as hard as I thought they would. At the same time, there were a lot of discussions about like work, you know, hustle culture, and how we focus on the wrong things, prioritize work way too much when we need to prioritize rest and ourselves. Obviously, there are a lot of bookish scenes in this. There was a book club that had really good discussions with each other. It's about just like finding your place in the world, saving yourself from feeling lost while you're figuring things out despite all the career changes and just general life changes. It's like healing fiction. It's cozy, but it has some deep discussions as well. So I would reread that. I would rewrite The Fair Kind. I was requested to review this book. It's gonna be in my May cramming vlog. This is a YA fantasy, but I would rewrite it. It was fun, okay? It was fun. I gave it 3 stars. A low 3. It was fun to read. It was just a lot more in the real world than I was expecting. I wanted it to be a lot of fae and world building and stuff, but we were in the real world a lot, like for like 70% of the book, maybe more than that. And then there was also a pregnancy scene that I was not a fan of. And also the romances, because there were multiple romances, moved way too fast. Way too fast. Like I didn't even know who these characters were. Like we haven't gotten to know them, but then they're already saying I love you. So I would rewrite all that, but otherwise, I mean, it was fun, easy, pretty good time. Compared to Great Big Beautiful Life, which I would burn, gave this 2 stars, I will be selling this. First Emily Henry that I'm getting rid of. I'm sure you've heard the negative reviews for this, and I feel the same way. I feel like it was trying too hard to be Taylor Jenkins Reid. It didn't do it well. The plot was dumb. The romance was lame. These characters are forgettable. The banter was weak. I just didn't like it. There were some quotes and some moments between Alice and Hayden, and the only reason I remember their names is because I just watched a vlog of someone reading this, but otherwise I definitely would have forgotten, because the only thing was just the couple sweet moments between them, the letters that were involved between them towards the end. But I don't think I gave a single fuck about Margaret Ives's story or whatever and the mystery behind it all. I'm sure you've heard other people talk about this. My vlog's coming soon with this if it's not up already, so that'll be on my Pango if you're interested. I believe that's everything though. Yay! Let me know what you thought of any of these books. If you agree, disagree, chat in the comments. If you made it to the end of this video, let's put a shark emoji to represent Junji Ito's fear in the comments down below. If you made it to the end, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to do some self-care. Hope you had a 5-star day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.